Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. Got a lot going on today. So we've been away for several weekends, graduations, tournaments, things like that. And we haven't had the time to really make a lot of videos. So what happened the other day, a couple weeks ago, I went to check the fluids on the old P30 food truck, and I noticed my coolant reservoir was completely empty. Let me show you. So my coolant reservoir here was completely empty, and that was odd because I don't leak any coolant at all. So I checked the radiator, and radiator was empty as well. No smoke, it wasn't running funny, nothing weird going on, except that I lost all my coolant, had no idea where it went. So I filled the radiator back up, I filled up the reservoir, and continued to drive every day to work. Now I only drive about 2 miles to work, so it gets up to temp, and then I shut it down. Then it's about 2 miles back and gets up to temp again. I shut it down. Not a whole lot of idle time other than a red light here or there. And every couple days I check the reservoir, and the reservoir was good. You can see right now it is up to here. So yesterday I drive to work and I shut it down, and I get a little bit of smoke coming out from the engine bay. It smelled like oil burning off, like I got an oil leak and it hit the manifold. That kind of smoke. Thought it was odd, gave it a visual, couldn't see exactly where it was coming from. Smelled oily, but didn't see any visible bad oil leaks and anything other than the scourge that's all over this. Who the hell knows how many hundreds of thousands of miles that this thing has on it. It's reading like 181 and change on the odometer, but who knows what the real deal is. It's a crusty old truck that we pretty much baby the crap out of. Top speed 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. Like we said, we only go 2 miles each way. We don't go ever much farther than that, even for an event. A couple of miles is the most I'll do. So I shut it down. We work for the day. I start it back up to go home, and when I get home, same thing. I shut it down, and it's running fine, not making any noises, not pinging or missing or anything like that, other than the normal, the normal. It's got fouled plugs. It's an oil burner a little bit, and again I get that smoke. So what happens here? So I go under the hood and I look at my reservoir, and my reservoir is full, and then I come over here to the upper hose and I give it a feel, and it's hot, and it is hard as a rock. Couldn't squeeze it, nothing. Really hot. I come over to my radiator, and this tank right here on the radiator is hot. And then I go down to the bottom of the radiator, and it's cold. Come over here onto the cap, put my hand on the cap, and it is ice cold. The heater hose is cold, and the lower radiator hose is cold. So I got a problem. So I let it cool down naturally. I go back to it about an hour and a half later, and I take the radiator cap off, and there is nothing in the radiator. Nothing at all. But when I loosen the cap, you get that first click out of it, the entire overflow then drained itself into the radiator. So the radiator was empty. The overflow drained completely into the radiator. I then did fill the radiator back up with water. I'm not even going to use coolant at this point because something funny is going on. And then I filled the reservoir up as well, just to bring me here to today. And I did take a look at the dipstick, and let me show you what I found. So you could see, all right, metal, a little bit of milkshake. Hopefully the glare is not killing it too bad. All right, so clean metal, a little bit of milkshake, and come down to where the oil is. Right, and I got some oil. It's full, it's dark, but I do have this section of milkshake scourge. All right, it doesn't smell too bad. but I do have a little bit of milkshake in there. So I'm thinking at this point, I probably have a blown head gasket, just a little bit, cracked head, just a little bit. If it was really bad, I'd be seeing a lot of white smoke, which I'm not seeing coming out of the tailpipe. I'd be going through the coolant a lot faster if it was really bad. I'd see a lot of coolant in the oil if it was really bad. So I know it's not pulling from the reservoir for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that reason is. So my plan of action is I'm going to dump the oil, see what it looks like. It's due for an oil change anyway. And so I'll dump the oil, I'll fill it up with water, I'll run it without a cap on it, see what that goes, and maybe I'll go and I'll try to get the lowest pressure cap I can get, so that as I use whatever water, I mean, there's no way of coming back from this. So it's going to need, probably another engine, which is probably a nightmare to get this thing out. It's got to come out through the interior compartment, I think. I don't think you can get the nose off of these trucks to, I don't know. It's going to be a nightmare. But that's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to change the oil, see what it looks like. Change it either way. I'm going to fill it up with water. I'm going to go to the auto parts store and try to get some, crazy samurai juice to pour in there. One of those sealing, add it to your antifreeze and pray that never work. But, it can't hurt at this point. And get a really low pressure cap, whatever the lowest pressure cap I could find, so that hopefully the cap will, this cap here, apparently didn't open enough to suck any water out of the reservoir because the reservoir was full. So I'm going to get a lower pressure cap to hopefully allow, just have less pressure in the engine overall, so that wherever that crack or the blown head gasket might be, it's not pushing on it as hard. And I'll hopefully, with the lower pressure cap as well, it'll draw some from the reservoir as it uses some. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to check the water every day, old school style, and add as needed, and keep driving it until it dies. So let me drain the oil out and let's see what it looks like. Down under here, you almost need a tetanus shot just to come under this thing. It's an 85 Chevy P30. Oh man, it's fucking moving. Oh, God, that's not good. Oh, moved. Oh, holy cow. Get that camera back for you. Oh. Guess I'll get a new drain plug while I'm at it, because that thing's pretty stripped pretty good. Holy cow, that thing didn't want to come out. Well, oil doesn't seem too milky. That's a good sign. Well, the oil was definitely dirty. However, it wasn't milky. Smelled okay. Drain plug pretty much had nothing on it. It's a little worn on the nub, but I think we can get another oil change out of this drain plug without getting a new one. So we're gonna save it. We'll let that oil drain for a while, pull the filter. In the meantime, we're gonna have to go over to the auto parts store and see if we can find a cap. Well, it's been a day. because it started raining and it got dark on me. But I changed the oil. The oil was pretty black, as you saw when I think I was draining it when we stopped recording. Yeah. So oil was black, you know, like it should be. It looked normal. It didn't smell funny. It didn't appear to have any residual water in the oil. However, when I took the filter off and I put the filter upside down in the drain pan and let the filter drain out, it seemed like some of that moisture was in the filter. So how the filter caught the moisture, maybe the paper filter element absorbs more of the moisture and gets it out of the system, I don't know. But there was some moisture in there, but it didn't seem like a tremendous amount. I don't know how bad or where this migration is happening. I don't see any coming out the tailpipe. I'm not leaking any. I don't know. It's got to be, you know, it's an old engine that had no maintenance on it. The coolant that was in here when I bought the truck was just rust water. And I flushed it out a bunch of times. We've actually rotted out a freeze plug on the side of the block, and I got one of those rubber expandable ones in there, but one actually rusted through. So there's probably a lot of rust in the water jackets and stuff. I'm sure the engine's on its way out. So what I did was I went over to our local Advance Auto, which is always an exciting thing, and I tried to get a regular old school GM radiator cap, right? This is the original one that was in there. And of course it's what year, what make, what model, whatever. And she couldn't find, you know, Shaniqua couldn't find me a low pressure. I don't know what you mean. She had no clue what I meant. I said, okay, can you look it up by part? Search part, low radiator cap, 7 pound. No, not allowed to do that either. So I just Googled 7 pound Chevy low pressure radiator cap, and lo and behold, the first hit was CarQuest, which is Advance Auto where I was at, CarQuest. So we got it. Radiator cap, low pressure. All right. So what I did was I got my reservoir full. So my reservoir is up to here with water. The radiator is about 3/4 of the way full with water. The oil's changed, new filter, new oil, and now I am going to use this here, the Blue Devil permanent repair guaranteed head gasket sealer. And it says here engine cold, check, radiator full, drain down the antifreeze to allow enough for this. I got into plenty of room for this. Start the engine while cold, turn the heater on max. We don't have a heater. Engine idling, slowly pour Blue Devil into the radiator. If the vehicle does not have a radiator cap with the engine off, pour it through the top of the radiator hose. I got a radiator cap. Don't pour it in the reservoir. Run for 55. After pouring Blue Devil slowly, replace the radiator cap, let vehicle idle with cap on for 50 minutes, maintaining normal operating temperature. Top off radiator with antifreeze and water. Blue Devil can remain in the system. So this is what we're trying here. All right. I'm gonna shake it because I don't know why I'm shaking it. All right, so I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna pour this in. I don't know what color it is, what it looks like. Let me move the camera so you can see when I see it. It's blue. I've used some of these Witches Blue Devils in the past, and sometimes they're clear. This one's actually blue. It's just a water consistency. It doesn't seem thick or anything like that. All right, so I'm gonna put that in. And because I'm still a little low on coolant, you know, all right, got that in. I'm gonna put my new cap on, my new low pressure cap, and I'm hoping that with the low pressure cap, the spring will move to where it's got to move, and it'll suck out of here as I use it up, because if this is going to be a continual problem, it's going to be a lot easier just to keep adding water here than taking the cap off every day. For those of you with a sharp eye, yes, I did put a new battery in. That was a separate issue. That was a 9-year-old Optima Red Top, lasted 9 years. It still worked, it just wasn't charging well. But when you got it fully charged, it would start the truck. All right, so now I'm gonna start old Betsy up here and let's see what happens. We're gonna run it for 50 minutes. Be back with you in a little bit. All right, so we let this thing run for a while. Initially, you know, this hose got hard and hot, and then down here on the tank, I started to feel this tank on this side, you know, start to warm up top, and then started to warm up, and then I'm feeling the radiator across it, and it was warm on this side. Then it took a while, it got warm on this side. This really had a couple of bubbles coming up in it, but nothing crazy. The level really didn't drop much. And as the thing ran, it took about 20 minutes or so, I started to feel this side of the radiator get warm, and about 30 minutes in, the radiator was completely warm. Upper and lower hose were nice and warm. The heater hose here, the one that we have, was nice and warm. Everything seemed to be good. I let it go 40 minutes. I didn't go the whole 50. This thing never runs more than 20 before I shut it down, and I kind of felt like I was asking for trouble just letting it sit here idle for so long. But it was up to operating temperature. The thermostat had to be open. It felt like water was flowing pretty good. Let it shut down, cooled it, and then opened the cap here. A little bit purged out of the cap when I opened it. The water is right there, about an inch below the neck, so I'm happy with that. So I'm hoping that sealer thing seals whatever the hell's going on here. I'll keep an eye on the oil, make sure I don't get a ton of water in my oil, and I'll keep an eye on my coolant level in the radiator for now. And hopefully, as it goes wherever it's going, it sucks it out of the reservoir with this lower pressure cap. If not, I'm just gonna have to keep putting the cap off. This kind of sucks. I'm hoping that blue bottle of snake oil magic works, because in the summertime I'm just adding water all the time, but in the wintertime it could get pretty pricey depending on how much antifreeze I'm adding all the time. You know, it's an old truck, and I baby the crap out of it, so hopefully I can baby the crap out of it for a little bit longer. Well, it is 2 weeks later. So we had 2 weeks of normal driving on this old truck, back and forth every day, and we did have some high temps, you know, outside temps, and it's run fine. I haven't added a drop of coolant to it. So what we did, after we put the snake oil in and did the snake oil run in, I did fill the reservoir up to this top line here, and the reservoir is now somewhere where the steel bracket band is on it. So that's how much water was used initially. So what we did was we did the run-in with the magic snake oil in the radiator, then we topped off the radiator with water, and then we topped off the reservoir all the way to the top with water. And over the period of the first 2 or 3 days, it sucked down that much from there to there, and the radiator has maintained a full level. You can see there we're right up to the top pretty much. Yeah, we're about an inch below the top. So the radiator's maintained a nice level. And like I said, 2 weeks, knock wood, let me tap my head, everything's worked out. So that magic elixir, I'll link it in the description below. It seems to be holding, or at least doing what we needed to do with this 7-pound cap on it. And I haven't overheated, I haven't even run hot. It hasn't used, you know, once it, you know, burped out whatever air was in it and took that initial, you know, third of a jug, the overflow jug, you know, this much here. Once that's sucked in, it hasn't sucked anything else in, and it's maintained a good level. So I'm happy. I think the magic elixir might have done something positive. There's no indication of any kind of moisture on the dipstick. I'll show you that. If you remember, I did have a little bit of moisture on the dipstick, and now the dipstick is completely clean. Oil looks good. We did change the oil when we did the magic elixir. We did put new oil and filter in it, and everything, knock wood on my head, seems to be good. Let me know your experience with that kind of magic elixir or another different magic elixir down in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.